Hey everyone! Today's video is going to be Miles' birth story. I was thinking about doing this as a blog post, but I'm such a rambler and I thought to myself, my fingers are going to get tired just typing it all out. So I thought I would share it in a video instead. And if you're new to my channel, I did just have a new baby boy, and his name is Miles. Miles Anthony Cy. Anthony after my dad's name. My dad's middle name was Anthony. So we wanted to incorporate that. I originally wanted to use my dad's first name, which is Bruce, in his name somehow, but we tried really hard to match Bruce with things, like to use Bruce as a middle name. And I was a little more difficult. It just didn't flow with a lot of the names that we were putting together. So I said, why don't we use Anthony? And Anthony went with everything. No matter what the first name was that we decided that we were thinking about, it went with Anthony. So we decided to go with that. And all right, so let's start from the beginning. And I'm sure I will link my pregnancy journey video below this if you haven't watched that. It's an emotional one. It's full of a lot of ups and downs and definitely some challenges. My pregnancy overall was, I don't know, pregnancy isn't easy. I don't want to kind of make it seem like it was, yeah, it was a piece of cake. Because pregnancy isn't easy. You definitely, it's, you know, carrying around another human being inside of you is a challenge. But on, you know, compared to what could have happened or the complications or challenges or physical ailments that I could have had during pregnancy, my pregnancy was quite manageable, and I was able to feel very much like myself through most of it. I mean, as much as you can feel yourself when something's like moving around inside you constantly or kicking you or making you nauseous many days. But I still had a good amount of energy, and any type of, you know, ailments or physical limitations that came up, I just tried to kind of go with the flow as much as possible. I'll also link my blog post that I did about how I stayed motivated through pregnancy, because I did really try to, I mean, I gave in to fatigue or exhaustion when needed to, but I tried to really look inside myself and be like, am I really fatigued and exhausted, or do I just feel like giving into this today? And I'm not really, I really probably would feel better if I get myself going. So that's what I found most days. I didn't have extreme fatigue or nausea or exhaustion. And I found often when I would get myself up and moving and dressed and my hair done and my makeup done, it would make a huge difference. So I'll link that blog post below as well. So moving on to the birth story. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably saw me talk about it in Instagram stories, and also I posted a picture the day that I was starting to have contractions. I saw my doctor for my 39-week checkup on a Thursday, and she kept asking me every week if I was having contractions, and I was like, I don't think so. I mean, kind of things get tight here and there, and she's like, you'll know if it's a contraction. And I was like, okay. So funny enough, we were in the doctor's office, and I was hooked up to that stress test thing that they put you on, or I don't know, put me on every week for, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, depending on how much Miles was moving around. And during that, I was like, oh, like I really felt what felt like a menstrual cramp. And I turned to Stan, because it was with me. And side note, Stan didn't miss, I think he missed one doctor's appointment the entire time. And that was because he had to go to work, but he wanted to be at every single appointment, even my glucose test. He's like, no, I want to go. I was like, yeah, but I'm just going to drink a thing and then just sit there. He's like, no, I want to be there. Like, he didn't want to miss a thing. So he was there, and I turned to him and I was like, I think I just had a contraction. And then my doctor came in and she's like, how you feeling? I was like, I think I just had a contraction. And she checked the little machine. She's like, oh yeah, I think you did too. She said, but that could mean things are going to be coming very quickly in the next, couple hours, days, whatever, or we could still have another week or two or whatever, around there. And so she said, just be on the lookout. And so they started to come a little bit more, every like 20 minutes after I got home from that doctor's appointment. It's like every 20 minutes. And they were definitely, I could feel a difference. And that was Thursday. And then they kind of calmed down that night, went away. I woke up the next morning. I was beginning to have them again a little bit, but once again, they just weren't staying consistent and they weren't hanging around. And I was like, all right, well, I'm not going to just sit in my pajamas all day and wait for this to happen. Let me get some work done. Let me get some blog work done. We took some pictures. I went to go get my brows done. And then around that evening, it was Friday evening, Friday, November 3rd, they started to really get a lot stronger. And they were still quite manageable, but I definitely knew like these are labor contractions. It was just a matter of when they were actually going to start sticking and really. And I think one of my readers sent me a message and she said it should be like 5-1-1 or 5 minutes apart, lasting for a minute for an hour. She's like, use that kind of equation. And they weren't getting down to 5 minutes apart, but they definitely were coming more regularly. And I decided to download an app because I didn't think they were lasting a minute. I was like, a minute's a really long time. And these feel like they're only lasting a few seconds. So I downloaded an app to count my contractions. And when I had one, I pressed the little button and it timed it. It was like a minute and 10 seconds. And I was like, holy cow. Okay, I guess they really are here. Stan got home from work at around 11:30, I think, around 11:30. And I was like, I'm really uncomfortable. And we started tracking them with the app. And they were like at 18 minutes and they were at 15 minutes and they were at 11 minutes and they were at 10 minutes. And by the time they got to 10 minutes, and this was in the span of probably like 40 minutes. By the time they were about 10 minutes apart, I was like, I cannot take it anymore. It was really starting to hurt. And I was starting to cry and I was like, I'm really in a lot of pain. So I texted my mom and I was like, because we were going to have her stay there and get to the hospital because she had to take care of Elmo. And the hospital's only a few minutes away. It's like a few miles. But we wanted her to stay at the house and take care of Elmo and then only come to the hospital when we were like, all right, it's getting to be go time. So we got into the car, and by the time I got into the car, they were coming, I don't even know, I'm guessing, and this was only like maybe a span of like 10 minutes, 15 minutes. They were going from like 10 minutes apart, and then 10 minutes later, they were about 2 to 3 minutes apart. We're in the car, and it was like, this is really happening. They were so painful, and they were really starting to kick in. And he was trying to drive as fast but as slow as possible because there were so many bumps and everything. And I was like yelling at him, not yelling at him, but I was like, don't go over that bump. Try to be as gentle as possible. So we got to the hospital and the guy at the front desk was like, oh, labor? And because I walked in, I was barely able to walk at that point. And they were coming we were only about 5 minutes away. By that point, they were coming about every less than 2 minutes. And they went and got me a wheelchair and we wheeled me into labor and delivery, the little triage desk. And I guess, I don't know whether I assumed the nurses see this all the time. That's what they do. They're there for labor and delivery. So they're used to women coming in who are in labor. But I just assumed that they would be like, okay, honey, oh my gosh, go get this, go get that. But they were really like, how you feeling? And I was like, not too good. I'm in a lot of pain. And they were just really like, oh, okay, cool. Well, we're going to go get your weight. I just thought they were going to put me on a stretcher and I'd go running down the hallway. I don't know what to expect. And that was not the case. They were like, okay, can you walk over and get a weight? And I was like, barely. So I hobbled over, got my weight. It was in kilograms. So to be honest with you, I had no idea what I was going in. It was funny because though a few days before this happened, I started to feel like my clothes were fitting a little bit looser. My feet I didn't get too much swelling in my feet here and there, but my feet were a lot smaller. And my mom was like, oh, I think you're getting close. Because I didn't feel like I was putting on any more weight. It felt like it was starting to, my stomach was getting bigger, but the rest of me felt like it was getting a little smaller. I don't know. So anyway, they took my weight. They do it in kilograms. So frankly, I have no idea what I was when I went in, and I really didn't care. So they took me to the triage area or whatever, because I don't think they had any rooms available yet. And she was like, so how are you doing? How's your pain? And I was like, it's unbearable. I'm going to need an epidural. Like, where is the doctor? And I don't, like, once again, didn't know. I thought maybe the doctor anesthesiologist was like, just standing there, waiting for anyone to come in. And here's a needle. And I just didn't know how long I would have to wait. Well, I had to wait a while because she said, okay, well, we have to get some blood work on you. We've got to, do a workup. And then anesthesiologist is, working on other patients, but she will be by. And I just looked at the nurse and I was like, I'm really like, I don't know how much more I can take. It was so painful at that point. I was crying, I was shaking. And then weirdly enough, what started was shakes. Not just, I couldn't stop trembling. We're talking like my whole body, like was not convulsing, but it was like you are shivering, when you get really cold and you can't stop shivering. Well, that's what it was feeling like. And she's like, she's like, what you're feeling is very normal. And there were some times where Sam would literally have to put his hands on me or something because I was shaking so uncontrollably. Finally, they got the blood done and my blood work back, and anesthesiologist showed up. I mean, just in the nick of time. I was like, I don't know what I'm going to do. I felt like I was going to pull the curtains down and it was just really, really, I was in a lot of pain. So she came in and I had back surgery between L4 and L5, which is the lower discs in your back. And funny enough, that's where they administer your epidural. So my doctor, when we were talking about this weeks prior, she said, make sure the anesthesiologist knows that. She's like, I can't guarantee you that it will take or it will take fully or if that will cause any problems. And I told the anesthesiologist, and I just sat there just saying to myself, please let it work, please let it work, please let it work, please let it work. And she administered it, and it did. It fully took. I felt instantly. She said it could take 15 to 20 minutes. It was pretty, just a few minutes. And I was already feeling much better, much more comfortable. And I think I came in at 4 centimeters dilated. And then, I don't know, I think we came in at 1:30 in the morning. I don't know, the time really was a blur to me. It felt like everything was done in 5 minutes, but clearly it was done over hours. So I think I came in at 4 centimeters dilated. By the time the epidural was in, I wouldn't stop shaking either. Even when the epidural was in, I still was shaking. They were like, that could happen. That's quite normal. So I'm still just wobbling and moving around and shaking, but trying to get some sleep or trying to rest my eyes. So they wheeled me into a room. They finally had a room available. And I don't know what time this was. We had called my mom by that point. And we're like, I think you should come to the hospital, because we asked the nurse, when should we have her come? And she's like, I would have her come. Because by the time they wheeled me into the room and they checked, I think I was at 8 centimeters dilated. And that was just in a few hours. So I was progressing rather quickly. And they were like, it's going to start happening. So we're probably going to have you start pushing around, 7 a.m., I think. Once again, it's all a little fuzzy. So my mom was able to get there, and we were just kind of sitting around waiting for, things to progress to get me to get to 10 centimeters. And just were very quiet, I'll be honest. We weren't kind of all chatting or anything. Stan was in one chair, my mom was in another chair, I was sitting there, and we just were all very silent. And I think I don't know how they felt, but I think it just felt very surreal. And I get emotional just talking about it, because it was just one of those what's about to happen? Oh my gosh. And I had that moment where oh my God, what did I do? Oh my gosh. You're excited. I mean, everybody's different. So, everyone feels differently and everyone has different experiences, but this was my experience. So I'm sitting there and I'm oh my gosh, what did I do? Starting to have nervousness and, oh my gosh, are we really doing this? Is this really happening? But I obviously wasn't like vocalizing these things, but that's why I was very silent. And it was also very emotional because my dad, you know, wasn't there, and it was a very like surreal moment. Like life's gonna change in just a short amount of time, and he's not here for that. So it was just, you know, just trying to take in the magnitude of what was going to happen. And so then the nurse came in that was going to, I guess, be helping me push. So the nurse came in and she was like, okay, you guys ready to have a baby? And once again, like all three of us were like, yep. It was just we were all very calm, very quiet. I didn't have a playlist going or anything like that or any music. It was just very, I don't know, it wasn't how I envisioned it. I don't know why. Maybe I envisioned it to be a little more chaotic, or I envisioned it to be a little bit louder. I don't know what I envisioned. All I know is it was like just we were all just like, yeah, we're ready to have a baby. So, and I, you know, like I said, once again, I don't know if it was just, you know, we had been through so much over the past year and a half, and even like for Stan and myself, we had been through, it's been a long road with us, you know, whether it was the miscarriage, I've had multiple back surgeries, you know, since he met me. Like right after we met, I had a back surgery, and then I had another one 5 years later, and in between that I had tons of chronic pain, and then we, you know, which I've never really talked about, but we lost Stan's mom a few years ago to brain cancer, and that was a very long, drawn out, agonizing process. It happened right around the time we got married, which is why we ended up getting married. We cut down the time that we had found out. We got engaged. We planned to get married like 10 months later. We wanted to do it in October. We got married. We got engaged in December. And then in March, she was given 6 weeks to live. And we decided, okay, let's do it at the courthouse, and so she can be there and cognizant. And so we ended up getting married like on a Monday morning down at the New York City courthouse, and my parents were there, his family was there, and we both had a friend. So we've been through a long road. So I think it was a culmination of a lot of emotions, and it's been a up and down journey. And then obviously in the past year and a half, it's been extremely, you know, very big highs and very big lows. So 7 o'clock, I begin to start pushing, and things are just not moving. And I'm pushing, and then the nurse is like, yeah, he's in distress. For whatever reason, the way he's positioned, he's like pushing on the cord. And so his heart rate like just dropped. So they said, we're going to put your legs on the peanut. It's like this foam thing, and to stretch out my hips and loosen up my hips. We're going to do that for about an hour and a half. So I said to my mom, I was like, someone's got to walk Elmo, because we've been in the hospital for a few hours. So my mom like ran home to walk Elmo. We'll start pushing again at 9. My mom like walks in like just a few minutes before 9. So they decide, okay, you've been on it for however long. Let's go ahead and start pushing again. I remember thinking to myself, like, am I supposed to really be feeling him moving? Because I feel nothing. And like, how am I supposed to get the baby out? It just didn't feel like, it was a lot of pressure, but I didn't feel like a baby was going to be coming out soon. And sure enough, I was pushing and pushing, and the nurse was like, his heart rate is dropping again. For whatever reason, he's positioned. I think he was kind of like scrunched up, or I don't know exactly what was going on, but my doctor came in and she examined me, and then within a minute or two, she kind of did the examination, and they kind of were all like blah, 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 to one another. And I just said to myself, they're going to give me a C-section. And she turned to me and she said, he's not coming out. Like, we can't. There's just the way he's positioned, and every time you begin to push, something with the cord is going on, and his heart rate is dropping. We got to take him out, and we got to get him out now. So you know, it's just not something that we had planned. I didn't have a birth plan going in. I was I'm very, uh, that was never something that I even thought I was going to put together. I'm the type of person where I want to be okay and I want the baby to be okay. However you get him out, that's fine. Like whatever you want to do, whatever we're going to do, I want to be comfortable. I do know that. And I want the baby to be comfortable because that's just how I work best. And I want us both to be healthy and comfortable. And if it's a C-section, if that's a natural birth, if you have to like, I dream of Genie him out. I don't know. I'm kidding. But I was like, whatever way, if we just kind of like magically think he's out, whatever we need to do, I'm down for. But it is, if you've had an emergency C-section after pushing or something needs to all of a sudden, like we need to get the baby out now, it's very, things begin to move very rapidly, quickly. Everyone's talking very, rapidly, and things are starting to move and everyone's starting to come into the room. It's definitely alarming in a way, but I was extremely calm. Even so, when we got into the room for them to begin the C-section, one of the nurses said, "You are very calm. Like, thank you for being so calm, like eerily calm." So, they begin to get me all prepped and they like throw Stan one of those, onesie suits and they were like, "Put it on." And my mom she seemed fine. Stan's face was very like, okay, because it's just everyone's starting to fuss and like, we gotta get him out now, we gotta get him out now. So, you just want everything to be okay. So they wheel me in and we begin the whole process. But the anesthesiologist that they had for my C-section, he was like a sassy one. And he was like arguing with some of the nurses. And then my doctor was like, "Okay, I'm ready to go. I'm about to start the incision." He's like, "I haven't even given her any anesthetic yet. Like, I haven't started." And I was like, oh, I looked at Stan. I was like, "Please make sure they give me anesthesia. Oh my God, like, please make sure I'm numb." And Stan's like, "Is everything okay?" And so I panicked a little bit at that moment, but everything was fine. And, within just a few minutes, he was there and he was born at 9:41. In the morning, he was 6 pounds, which we thought he was going to be a little bit bigger based on, the weight that was going, but he was 6 pounds and a tiny little thing and 19 and a half inches. So he's kind of long and skinny and everything was good. We were totally good. And they wheeled us back into the room, recovery, or wherever I was going into. And like, once again, it's all kind of a daze. I don't remember the first time they put him on my chest, to be honest, because they took him out and they were like, "We just have to go, we want to go check him first before they put him on my chest." And I was very foggy at that moment. So to be honest, I don't remember. I remember being in recovery and having him on my chest. And I do remember going, "Stan, what does he look like? What does he look like? I want to see what he looks like." And so I'm trying to stretch my head over and I finally get to see him in his little face. Because I think I just wanted to see what he looked like. More than, and I also wanted to hear him cry. Because he didn't cry when they first took him out. I was like, "Stan, he's not crying, he's not crying." And then I heard him cry. And then I was like, okay, phew, I can breathe. I can see his face. I can see these like 2 arms, 2 legs, a head. Okay. And I was when we were waiting in recovery to go back to my room, all I wanted to do was get back there and tell my mom his name, because we hadn't told my mom his name yet. I wanted to tell her that, it's my dad's middle name. And so I was just like, when can I go? When can we go back to the room? And so we finally did. And it was just a really fun, emotional moment when she got to meet him and we managed to keep the name a secret. And it was very sweet and exciting. So, but then I ended up staying in the hospital for, I think it was just 2 or 3 days. I spiked a fever in the hospital and my white count went up. So they ended up keeping me another day. And it was, it was good. It was fine being in the hospital. Once I got home, I was definitely feeling a lot better. I wanted to be home. And I mean, the nurses were very helpful, But it was funny because as soon as I got home and I could ask my mom some questions, my mom's not a nurse or anything. It just was like, I want to ask my mom questions. As soon as we were back home and I was able to ask her things and like, is this okay? Or is he, what is this? Or, what does this cry mean? Or I just felt much more comfortable when we were able to figure things out in the comfort of our own home rather than trying to figure it out in the hospital. But it's now been about a little over 3 weeks since he's been here. Recovery has been up and down, I will say. I definitely didn't anticipate a C-section. So that's kind of like a wrench thrown in the whole situation. And recovery is up and down. I had some good days at the beginning, and then I had some bad days, and it literally is day to day. The pain and the discomfort and all the other things that come with recovering from a C-section. Obviously it's major surgery. I've had major surgery before, so I understand that it is good days and bad days. Like I'll have a day where I'm like, I'm ready. I want to take a shower. I want to do my hair. I want to do my makeup. I want to be up and ready and at least get dressed. And then there's days where I'm like literally on the floor in tears because I'm in so much pain or I'm in discomfort or it's just, I just don't, I'm uncomfortable. But it's been slowly making my way back, and it's just really, I will say it's really wonderful having us all three here taking care of him. Like from day one when I got home, we all three took on the responsibility of taking care of Miles. And I'm not the type of person that feels that, and I knew this going in, like I knew I wasn't going to be the type of person, I've never been the type of person who like, I want to do it all myself and a control freak. I have those tendencies, but I learned very early on in my business world, actually, how to delegate and how to let people help you. And then I learned that again in a very humbling way when I had my back surgeries because I was like, I need someone to pay my rent this month. I need someone to take out my trash. I need someone to help me go to the bathroom. So I very quickly learned how to ask people for help and that I wasn't going to be of any help to anybody if I was trying to do everything myself and then I made myself sicker. So it's really been nice. Like my mom lives downstairs in our home. And she's retired. So we've all been kind of waiting for this. And it's just really great to kind of all come together. We all have a very good relationship. It's been really great to have, us all under one roof. And it feels, I don't know, every family dynamic is different, but we have a very great working dynamic, all three of us. We all get along really well. My mom and Stan are actually very similar. They're both Aries and they're very similar, so they get along exceptionally well. And then there's me, who's a little more dramatic, the Scorpio. But it's like a team effort, and I like that. I don't, from day one, like I said, I haven't felt like, oh, I only want to do this, or I only want to do that, or I'm the only one that can do this for Miles. There are times, and there's been times over the past few weeks that I just can't. For whatever, like the pain is so bad, or I'm just exhausted, or whatever reason. And then I just like tag somebody else in. Like I need somebody to come help me change his diaper or help me feed him or whatever it is. And it just is nice that we all work together and we're all in it together. And so it's been a very great experience in that way. And I mean, that was the whole point of why we wanted to live all together with my parents, because I always wanted my kids to grow up and be able to see them on a daily basis and get to interact with them and get the help from my parents. And then they get to see my kids all the time. So it's just been a nice experience that way. But like I said, definitely from a physical standpoint, it's challenging day to day. I'm definitely over the majority of the hurdles. I feel I'm only still dealing with a few, like it does hurt, when I move in certain ways, or I've had a lot of, the one thing nobody told me about was a lot of like the digestive things that come with C-sections. And like I said, everybody's different. Some people don't ever have these issues. Well, this has been my experience. And a lot of like gas issues. I mean, it's a little TMI, but I feel very comfortable sharing this because it's real and this is how it really was. Like the gas issues and digestive issues and going to the bathroom, that has been the most challenging and the most painful and really has brought me to my knees some days in terms of pain. So, but I'm glad to be on the downward slope of everything. And Miles as a personality, I mean, how much personality can you have in 3+ weeks? But he does, you know, from day one, he's very, very, he has a very relaxed personality. When he cries, he very easily, as soon as whatever is remedied, whether that's he's hungry or his diaper is wet, which are really the only two things, he manages to calm down like instantly often. And he self-soothes a lot. So sometimes he'll just like start crying and he'll put his little fists up by his mouth and I'll just kind of see is like, is he really upset or is he just having like a fussy moment? And if he's just having a fussy moment, he tends to just kind of and like settle himself back down. So he's been very, I don't know, we just feel very happy with him and grateful that he's here and that, you know, we have a really great bright spot and something wonderful, positive to, you know, focus on after having some, you know, definitely highs and lows. And he's fallen into a great routine, I have to say, where the rest of us are still trying to find our groove. And I have to kind of stop and step back and be like, okay, it's going to take a while to find my own routine with him and my own routine with working and blogging. Because I started as soon as I got back from the hospital and not, you know, I wasn't back to blogging like full time, but I mean, often he was like sleeping for many hours. So I'd get on the computer and I would take some pictures or put a post up, or if I felt okay, I'd go out, you know, for a light walk, or we brought him down to visit Stan at work. So I just kind of would gauge like, how do I feel? I don't want to push myself too much, but there were a lot of times where being out and about really helped my mood big time. It helped me just feel better. And it helped, the doctors were like, you know, don't get out and move a ton, but moving will help, you know, with the healing process, especially help with any gas that needs to move. And it'll just help with the healing process overall. So I literally just take it day by day, sometimes hour by hour, and try to just listen to my body. But yeah, so that is his full birth story. Nothing too earth-shattering or, you know, crazy. It was relatively quick. I feel like we still didn't take enough pictures. I didn't hire a professional photographer or anything, but I didn't feel like we needed to, I wasn't going to hire a professional photographer, but I wanted to take some pictures, and we took a good amount, but I'm like, oh, I wish we would have taken more. But it's so hard when things are moving so quickly. And then especially in those first few days in the hospital, I was just in so much pain. And there were some times where I was like, oh, I don't want to take a picture. I was like, just take a picture of Miles. I don't know but we got some really good moments, like his first time in the car seat and then me leaving the hospital and Stan's first skin-to-skin contact with him and his first time feeding Miles. And so we got some really cute ones. The first time my mom got to hold him. Oh, we got on video Elmo and Miles meeting, which I was literally shaking with excitement. I was like, we were walking in and I was like, I can't wait for Elmo to meet him. I can't wait for Elmo to meet him. And it went as wonderful as I anticipated, because Elmo is such a little joy, and he's very gentle and he loves to lick. And sometimes he gives Miles attention, like he'll go over and sniff him and kind of lick his head or lick his foot, and then sometimes he's just kind of like, all right, well, is this our new normal? Okay, great. So I have a feeling that he will really, once Miles starts to, you know, get on the floor and move around, I think Elmo's going to have a blast with him. So hope you enjoyed this video. I know this was definitely a bit of a long one, but obviously I couldn't make this into like a 5-minute video. There's lots to tell, and hope you enjoyed this. And hope you enjoyed this little more personal video. And I will talk to you guys soon. Oh, and if you want to see any more pictures. I mean, I don't put up too many pictures of Miles. I'm not trying to like overwhelm people with like baby pictures constantly and baby videos because not everyone's into that all the time. And not everyone obviously feels about him the way we do. So, but I have put some stuff up on Instagram, and that's typically where I show little snippets here and there. I'll show snippets on Insta stories here and there. And so be sure to head over there. If you don't already follow me, that's where I share a lot of stuff about him. And I will talk to you guys soon. Okay, take care. Bye-bye.